Well, here we go, another installment, another boring to tears installment of the vintage and new machinery codger. And as always, don't do anything I do. It's inherently dangerous. You could get injured. Don't do it. Just because I'm doing it doesn't mean you can. Now we're going to go over here. We got a new project we're going on. This one has been in the making for at least a couple of years. And we're going to go over here to start out with, over here. Look over here. There's my tiller. Oh God, it's almost wore out. So we got to start from scratch here. We got to do something real quick. We have got weeds taking over the garden, and I need to do some tilling before I smother everything with mulch. But I've got to get another tiller going. So I've got one over here that I bought and a couple of years ago, but I never got it running right because it has a Tecumseh motor, and boy, they didn't always work out too good on these tillers. So yeah, it's a Tecumseh, bless its heart, it did what it could, but we're going to put another motor on it. And so we've got it broke down, got out the big old big shot blaster, and we went and decided that we were going to loosen this thing up and make it work again. So we got some supplies for it. I got a lot of things working on it again. It was locked up, and we're back in order again. I got the shift going, and then tore it apart and found out what all was bad. And I've got another motor for this, so let's go look at it. Okay, here we are. This is the engine that's going to be the replacement. Notice that it's one of those 212cc, about 5, somewhere basically 6.5 horse to 7 horse. This one was advertised as 7 horse. I think it's probably a 6.5 horse, even though they advertise 7. But it's going to work fine. It's basically a Honda knockoff, but these have been good engines, amazingly. So we'll go over here. You notice the fuel tank is taken off. There's a reason for that. Most fuel tanks on these engines are pretty thin, and they don't have much galvanized on them. We're going to go out and look at it real close. Now that we know that, it's got a really nice handle on it. I like that for pulling. And a pretty sturdy rope, so yeah, it is for these type of engines. They're a big improvement on the original Tecumsehs that were around in the 70s and early 80s. But it's a good motor. Let's go out here and look at what's in the back of the truck. Okay, here we are. My good old pickup truck. It's been backed into something. That was that way when I bought it. But yeah, look at this tank here, and I want to see the feature on this. If you look here, yeah, the spout has been replaced. It's got a better pour spout. But one thing I did, because they were so thin, is that I used a tank coating. And we'll talk more about this. Of course, I promptly dropped the tank and bent one of these little bolts here, so you don't do it too. Hold on to it, it'll get out of your hand. Yeah, over here where I coated that tank, with this red coat, and you can buy this on eBay or wherever, just go up. A lot of people carry this stuff, but I used it. It kind of stinks, but it works pretty good. So I've been always happy with it. But I've always, when I get any of these Chinese built motors, and they're probably built all in the same factory, but the fuel tanks, the galvanized in the fuel tanks is pretty thin, and And especially if you don't pay attention to that alcohol, it will rust a hole in your tank right away. So just plan on it. Now back over here on our dimensions for, and it's important to keep an eye on this. You'll notice on these Predator motors or Predator-like motors that the hole spacing is here. Now we're going to take and measure this. It is respectively 65 millimeters. So 65 millimeters. Oops. And we're going to go out and measure on the tiller. Well, we got to quick do a check to confirm, you know, make sure we didn't really screw up bad here, because we can do that every once in a while. And we're going to quick measure this from here to there, and yeah, oh yeah, we're going to make it. You know, I don't think we're going to have to drill this out anymore or even file it to fudge on it. It's 65 millimeter. Well, yeah, you know, and here's something, you know, that is really characteristic of all my videos, and you will know from the get-go that they're going to suck and they're going to bore you to tears. But I just like, you know, for everybody that are in the comments section are going to up and say that, yeah, man, your videos suck and you suck too. Well, I got news for you, buddy. In appreciation of your latest bit of constructive criticism, frack you very much. Well, here we go. And yeah, I was going to take and bring out the calipers, and this is a digital and can read both in inches and millimeters. But here's the big drawback on these: the damn batteries go dead, and they usually go dead right before you need to use them. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to change the battery. Of course, the beginning thing to do with these digitals is to zero them. Make sure you press that 0. Now, we know that we're dealing with an unknown here, but we know that we could still drill this out and tap it. It's large enough to do the job. So I don't usually like these particular Irwin taps, Irwin Hansens, because they don't have a countersink in here to be able to put in the lathe a dead center or a live center in it to use it for holding it perpendicular to your work in the lathes. But I'll eventually make something for this. It's an okay and the size okay tap, and it's a 3/8 24 National Fine. So that's what we're going to tap this out to. Now, the key problem is that it called for Q bits. Well, hardware store, good luck if you're going to get a hardware store that's going to carry the A through the Z bits. You will find numbered jobbers, and you will find them broke down into inches, as much as a 64th of an inch. But we're going to measure that. We're going to first start out with a Q bit, an actual Q, and I have an index. It isn't the best index, but it's good enough for the girls I go with. And I use this one mainly for aluminum the most, and to start off it's 328.5 thousandths of an inch. It's got a half, but it's closer to 29. Let's check the 0 again. I think you always go back at 328 thousandths. Okay, when we grab a this one's a 21/64th, and I like to buy an extra bit, and this is 323 thousandths of an inch. It's 5 thousandths smaller. So that will make cutting just a little bit tougher, but I will first drill this hole. If it's too hard to tap, then I'm going to use my Q bit, but I definitely am careful with my bits because it's a little hard to replace them right now. And I have to order one probably online to get it, and it'll be a week before it comes in. But yeah, I'm going to definitely put this in my toolbox, and I'll be using it later. And this will be the original thread that we're going back to in the shaft. And you may run into something like this and kind of use your head, be resourceful, do what you can. Yeah, for expediency, I already drilled it. I'm just taking the burrs off. And now we go and sync this up all the way, and we're start the boring task of tapping these out, because it's going to be a little tight, because yeah, I'm cutting 5 thousandths off, a little more than what the other drill would make room for. So we're just going to take our time here. Well, there, got it tapped in, considerable length of distance here and into the shaft. This is pretty good metal. It did not tap easy. A couple times I felt like I was going to break it. So let's run this in here. And this is down to where it looked like it was threaded into on the Tecumseh shaft. So let's see how deep we got them here. Yeah, I got a little deeper here. So this looks pretty good. And I think I'm going to walk out and recheck on the Tecumseh to make sure that was about deep enough. Whether I need to put another washer on there or not. But threaded in about so far, that's pretty good. Well, I have this tapped out pretty good, and the depth looks good. Check that on the other motor, and now we did go back to the other motor, and we got some spacers off of it, and we got this all loosened up. So so this slides back and forth, and then when we put on the brake, I've got another one of these ordered. They're still available. I kind of wondered whether, you know, I'd try one of the fiber out, and you can see that it threads in there just as good as what they originally had at the factory. So yeah, and it just has to be snug on here. And that looks good, but we have to leave this all apart because the motor has to go onto the mounting collar before we can put these pulley wheels on. So we'll take it all apart and keep it handy. Our next step is to get a piece of tape. We're just going to get this keyway, kind of protect it. Keep everything in place. There. And might even keep this in here so we don't lose it. It goes way in there anyway. Okay, we got the motor all assembled. Got the tank bolted back on. Got all the heat shields on. Yeah, this stuff is on here for a reason. And I know I'm smart enough not to put my hand on this, but there might be somebody else that's not, so I did it. Anyway, we do have a situation here that these go in here quite a ways, but not really far enough, and the bolts are really kind of long, so we're going to shorten them up. And the distance we're going to shorten them is the thickness of the housing that this fits into. And I'll get a measurement here shortly, and we'll cut these down so that when we tighten them up, they'll be snug, and plus it's out of the way of the shaft, the pulley wheel. There'll be more than adequate room. See how this bumps up to it? Yeah, it's got to go. They've got to go deeper or be shortened up so they'll fit properly. Well, I cut off most of the bolts on this. The bolts some of them were too long. On these, do not take for granted that all these holes are drilled the same depth. I find that this one's a lot deeper, this one's shallower. These two are the same, but probably when it was put in the CNC, in the programming, they had different depths for these holes programmed. So pay close attention to that. The depth across which we're going to pinch on will be 15 millimeters. So, and that then I actually set them to a little bit over 15 millimeters, slightly, and then I'm accommodating for a lock washer. So yeah, I'm pinching on 14 millimeters basically, and it'll work out good. I'll be mounting this real soon, and we're going to put some oil in it and fire it up and see how it runs. So yeah, I'm making headway. Here we're determining what size belt we put on here, and some people, you know, they take and put a mark on the belt and go and run it over, and this one comes out to 22, and so what belt would go on here? Well, we know that the width across here, it's about a ½ inch, close to 5/8, so that's the width of a 4L, and 22 would be it'd be a 4L 22 belt, 4L 220 belt. So, and we can get, a lot of times it's recommended that you turn them inside out and then measure them, and it's supposed to be an accurate measurement, and it comes out to be about 22. So that's where I come up with the Gates belt that I got. You might be wondering, yeah, I got a little swelled up hand. Well, the bees stung me here and somewhere in here, and I guess I wasn't quick enough at giving them some sugar water, and I pissed them off, and they're just expressing that they hate my guts and my liver too. You know, some days they're as hateful as a $500 bill, but you just have to put on your men's underwear and man up. Yeah, I hauled that motor out here and we're out in the weeds putting this thing back on, but we have to keep these in order. Let's start off, we're gonna pry this up in place, and let's keep this one right there. We're gonna go around counterclockwise and keep tabs on where these go to, because they're all trimmed to match the holes. Okay, let's see if we can. Oh boy, this might be a little tough. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can get that off. It's worth leaving that on there. One started. And we got, of course, a set of metric Allen heads that I've had for years. I've had them for 20 years. And old Dad has been kind of a control freak about where they have been. So imagine that. I've still got all of them. It's a full set. Still got everything that I bought. I didn't add to it, but you got to keep track of your tools. And we're going to stop a little bit. As long as we get a good 1/4 inch or more, be nice to have 3/8 of an inch in these thread going into holding that tight. We don't risk them coming out so easily, and it can hold it up in there pretty good. Pretty solid. Get enough bite. And that's why I kind of like these Allen heads. Oh, they look cool too. Not that I look cool. I'm not into cool kids. Fall over here. There we go. Get some torque on them. and they just need to be snug. Okay, now for the next phase. Okay, I took the liberty of snaking the belt in here before we put the pulley wheel on. I sprayed a little bit of you don't have to use this, but I sprayed a little bit of this lithium grease up in here, just to get something in there till the next time I take this apart. Let's see if we can get this in here. Oh boy. And let's get this. All the way up, and we don't have it all the way up. We got a problem. We're not getting past this piece here. I didn't realize we were gonna have a problem. Well, we did a little time lapse here, and yeah, I had a problem there. This shaft on this motor is just a little bit long, so it got in the way of putting the pulley back in where it belonged. And after cussing and discussing this and a lot of profanity, which we can't have on there, because this is a family show, so I had to loosen up all these screws again, and you leave one in and rotate the engine up a little bit at an angle so I could finagle this pulley wheel back in, and I've assembled it, and of course these motors don't come with any oil in them, so you got to put oil in them. And I've gassed it up, and I put a non-detergent oil in here because I'm going to do a little bit of a break-in. So let's see if this thing starts up. Yeah, I moved this project along. Of course, there's some things that we did that weren't on camera. We did replace the tires. It has some flat tires. So I put these tires on, and if I need more traction, they were inexpensive, and if I need more traction out of them, I'll just put on a set of chains. Did go through and pull off the handle and check the level of the gear lube in the transmission. Adjusted the reverse. There's a plunger there that so you you don't go in reverse just because you put it in neutral. It's adjusted so that the belt is tensioned adequately, and of course along with the rear has a separate compartment, so because this is a newer model, you can pull off the tines, pull off the rear end of it, but it does have a filler down here. It has a filler for gear lube, and there's some things that will have to be done on this. Back here, we have in that shaft, back in the tiller, the tines, there's a bad seal. So I'm going to have to replace the seal, and while I'm at it, I might as well go and pull the wheels back off again, replace all the seals, replace the wheels, the seal behind the selector switch for high and low range, and maybe eventually I'll pull off in here and replace the seal up behind there. But for right now, it's operational, and this project is I'm pretty satisfied with it. Sticking another motor on there. Eventually I'll have my other tiller over here, and I'm going to take this one, and what I plan on doing is putting a electric motor on it. I've got a lot of bearings that need to be replaced in it. I'm going to rebuild it and just put on a 2-horse electric motor, and it ought to do fine. I'll just it'll be interesting to have an electric tiller like that. But this one, I've got it settled down where it'll till for me pretty nicely. Yeah, I got the corn tilled in between there, got the weeds under control, and I'll put some more mulch down. I did put chicken manure on here. I got a load of chicken manure, and things really took off. You put that manure on, it really goes. And yeah, the tomatoes, man, they just exploded here. So everybody likes tomatoes except those that are allergic to them. The mulch down, and it's watered, and yeah, there's going to be cucumbers by the 4th of July. They're on there, and they're going to be big enough. We're going to have sour cream and cucumbers. And then over here we got of course the zucchini. This is why you put locks on your door, so because if you leave your doors open, the zucchini people will come, and there'll be a big pile of zucchini on your kitchen table. So you make sure you lock your doors. Well, here we're coming to the completion of this video, and I certainly hope that it's just bored you to tears. That was the intention. And if you stuck with us before going somewhere else, it's too bad that you did. Anyway, I want to give honorable mention to the eBay seller Dura Powers. If you want to do an engine swap, you will like that type of tank, then you should try it. What? I'm recording. What do you want? Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.